Yes, Bulbul here, and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, on Just Law we normally discuss an area of law which is of interest to you, our viewers. And secondly, and more importantly, Just Law is a live show. So if you've got any questions on any aspect of English law, please do pick up your phone and give us a ring, and hopefully I should be able to give you some guidance on any issues that you have. On this show, we should be able to look at most aspects of English law, ranging from immigration matters, criminal matters, family matters, etc. So whatever your query is, give us a ring and inshallah we'll have a discussion about it, and hopefully I should be able to give you some advice in relation to that. Just a couple of points before we get going. Obviously it's a live show, so we're not able to look at your documents that you have. So we have a lot of questions on immigration law, and obviously it's not possible to look at decision letters, etc. But in my experience, despite that, if you give us some background information, we should be able to give you fairly firm advice based on the matters that you inform us of, even without sight of those documents. Where we do need to look at the documents, I'll ask you to leave your number with the control room, and you can give me a ring back, or you can take my number and give me a ring to have a more detailed discussion about your matter once I've seen your documents. Just a second point before we get going. Obviously, because it's a live show, we're not able to take very detailed instructions from you. Sometimes we find that a matter has a lot of history that we need to go through in order to work out what the best option is for someone. Now, if that's the case, again, what I will ask you to do is leave your number with the control room. Then we will go through the history that we've not been able to do live on air, and then we can have a better discussion about your particular query. But in my experience, we're able to, in most cases, give you firm advice on what your query relates to. Now, in this new year, what we've been doing is looking at a number of different types of applications. Last week, I started off looking at spouse applications, and in particular, how applications should be made in order to successfully get the visa that someone is applying for. The classic and the most popular visa that most immigration lawyers are instructed to deal with is a spouse visa, where somebody is calling their husband or wife to the United Kingdom. And what I did last week is to look at the main requirements that need to be fulfilled, in particular the kind of documents that the applicant who is in their home country, the documents that they need to get together, and in most cases send to the sponsor in the United Kingdom for onward submission to the Home Office. So we dealt with the mandatory documents that applicants need to get together, such as TB certificates, English certificates, the marriage certificate, etc. And what we were looking at is how to make sure that the correct type of documents are submitted. We don't make any mistakes when submitting the documents. Where we managed to get to was to look at financial documents. What kind of financial documents need to be submitted? And what I want to do today is just simply concentrate on how the financial requirements are met when a spouse application is being made. So if we concentrate on that today, then in next week's show we'll look at other aspects of immigration law in terms of how the visa is extended in the United Kingdom, how you ultimately apply for settlement in the United Kingdom, how you then apply for nationality in the United Kingdom. We can go through the whole process over the coming weeks. But where we are at the moment is hopefully today we'll look at the financial requirement that needs to be fulfilled. Now, as always, although we're looking at spouse applications, how to sponsor a husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom, and in particular we're looking at the financial requirement, although that's the topic for today, whatever questions that you have, whether it relates to immigration law, whether it relates to any other matters, please do pick up the phone and give us a ring, and let's have a discussion about those matters today. Now, what I touched on last week was the financial requirement as far as someone who is employed is concerned. To some extent, they are the easiest applications to make. The reason I say that is the number of documents that need to be submitted in a standard application where somebody is employed. The documents are quite minimal when compared to other types of applications. The other types of applications that we will look at later on is where somebody is self-employed, maybe as a sole proprietor or a partner in a business. We'll also look at the situation where somebody is self-employed running a limited company. So we'll look at the kind of documents that need to be submitted in that situation as well. But going back to the classic situation which occurs in, I would say, 80 to 90% of cases, which is where the sponsor in the United Kingdom is employed. What type of documents then need to be submitted to meet the financial requirement? As I touched upon this last week, the documents are essentially wage slips, bank statements and an employer's letter. So quite a straightforward matter. There's only three particular types of documents which need to be submitted: your wage slips, your bank statements and an employment letter. Although it sounds simple, but there are specific requirements to each of these categories, and that's what we need to look at. So it's not just a question of submitting the last 3 months bank statements or some 3-4 months wage slips. There are particular types of duration for the documents that needs to be met. There are deadlines, etc. There are documents which in certain circumstances become out of date, etc. So there are a number of things that need to be borne in mind with each of these different categories of documents. So let's start off with the simplest of documents, the wage slips. And this is in particular in relation to someone who has been employed for 6 months with the same employer. So somebody's there working for 6 months with the same employer. They would need to submit 6 months of wage slips. Now bear in mind the wage slips that sponsors get in the United Kingdom, in terms of the frequency of the wage slips, that will vary. It could be that somebody is employed on a month, employed whereby they receive wage slips on a monthly basis. That's the most simplest of applications. 6 months of wage slips, basically there are 6 wage slips that will need to be submitted. But let's say someone is receiving wage slips on a weekly basis. For them it will be 26 weeks of wage slips which need to be submitted. Now you also come across the situation where people will get paid on a 4-weekly basis. So it's not on a monthly basis, not on a weekly basis, so on a 4-weekly basis. So in that situation, the requirement is not to submit 6 4-weekly wage slips. You have to submit 7 weekly wage slips, because if you were to submit 6, that would only cover a period of 24 weeks and you'd be 2 weeks short. So it's a basic matter. Look at how the frequency at which you're getting paid, and then work out how you cover the 6-month period which relates to the period for which wage slips have to be submitted. So that's the basic starting point, that if you've been employed for 6 months, it's 6 months duration of wage slips that you will need to submit. The second point you need to bear in mind is that you need to look at the date the application is being made. So let's take, for example, the date of the application is the 15th of January. Now, any financial documents that you submit, they must be not more, the last document must not be more than 28 days old. So you have to make sure, if you're receiving wage slips on a monthly basis and you're applying on the 15th of January, that the last wage slip you submit would be for December 2017. It's no good submitting your last wage slip as November 2017, because you'd be more than, the last wage slip would be more than 28 days old. So the second key point that we need to bear in mind is that the wage slips that have been submitted shouldn't be more, in terms of the last wage slip, they shouldn't be more than 28 days old. It's a very easy mistake to make where you're trying to get your documents ready and the deadline keeps on moving, and instead of getting the last wage slip submitted you get everything else up to date, but you forget to submit your last wage slip, and then that causes a problem, because that in itself could be a reason for the application being refused. So that's the position with the duration of the wage slips, and in terms of it shouldn't be more than 28 days old in terms of the last wage slip. Easy matters to bear in mind. Thirdly, what I tend to do is ensure that the wage slips match the payment that goes into the bank statements, into the bank account. So look at the bank statements, make sure that the wage slips match the bank statements. It's an easy mistake that people make, that they submit these wage slips and they don't match up with what's gone into the bank account. Let's take our first call for the day, and let's then return to that topic later on. Hello, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
जी वालेकुम सलाम। मैंने ये पूछना है कि हमने अपने वो क्या नाम है दामाद का सन-इन-लॉ का वीजा अप्लाई करना चाहते हैं, ठीक है जी। लेकिन मेरे पास 3 बेडरूम घर है कौंसल का, ओके, उसमें मेरी बेटी का नाम भी रजिस्टर है, राइट। तो पहले बेटे भी थे मेरे साल, लेकिन बेटों ने अपने घर ले लिए, अब सिर्फ बेटी है मेरे साथ और उसके 2 बेबी है। तो क्या वो इसी घर में वीजा अप्लाई कर सकती है? जी,
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल तो ये है ना कि काउंसिल का घर है, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, आप काउंसिल के घर पे अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। इसमें सिर्फ ये याद रखना है कि बिकॉज द लैंडलॉर्ड इज़ द काउंसिल, सो बेस्ट ये है कि काउंसिल से एक लेटर ले ले, अगर वो देने के लिए तैयार है कि वो आपका जो सन इन लॉ है वो भी आकर यहाँ रह सकता है। सो बेस्ट ये है कि आप लेटर ले लो। अगर लेटर काउंसिल वाले कहते हैं या तो हाउसिंग एसोसिएशन वाले ये कहते हैं कि हम लेटर नहीं देंगे, समटाइम्स आर अ बिट डिफिकल्ट, तो फिर आप टेनेंसी एग्रीमेंट डाल दो, और टेनेंसी एग्रीमेंट में ऐसा लिखा होगा कि जो लोग सिक्योर टेनेंट्स है, सो नॉर्मली वेयर यू हैव द टेनेंसी फॉर मोर देन आई थिंक 6 मंथ्स, जो सिक्योर टेनेंट्स है वो खुद डिसाइड कर सकते हैं कि उसके घर में कौन रह सकता है। सो अगर वो लेटर दे दे तो सबसे बेहतर है, अगर लेटर न दे तो टेनेंसी एग्रीमेंट भी डाल दो जिसमें लिखा होगा कि एज अ सिक्योर टेनेंट आपका सन इन लॉ भी आपके घर में रह सकता है। थर्डली आप सिर्फ ये कर लेना कि हाउसिंग का एक रिपोर्ट बना लेना कि वो जो सर्वेयर जो आएगा, ही विल डू अ रिपोर्ट सेइंग द नंबर ऑफ रूम्स आर 3, दिस इज़ द नंबर ऑफ पीपल हु कैन लिव एट द प्रॉपर्टी, और आपका सन इन लॉ आएगा तो देयर शुडंट कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होना चाहिए इन टर्म्स ऑफ साइज़ के लिए उसके लिए। सो आप अगर ये 2-3 चीज़ कर लेंगे ना, लेटर फ्रॉम द काउंसिल या तो और टेनेंसी एग्रीमेंट भी डाल दे और हाउसिंग रिपोर्ट भी ले ले, तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होना चाहिए काउंसिल हाउस में भी।
ठीक है, अब मेरे सन इन लॉ से 1 सेकंड बात कर सकते हैं प्लीज?
जी कर सकते हैं,
थैंक यू, मैं देती हूँ जी।
हेलो जी, हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम। जी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, गुड, हाउ आर यू? यू ओके?
I'm good.
Mashallah, good. Ji brother, what's your question?
Well, I was just thinking of applying for a spouse visa. I'm married for 5 years.
All right, okay.
So I'm trying to just apply it on my own behalf. By that I mean I've got money in my account here, like £55,000.
All right, okay. Yep.
For more than a year.
Okay.
Actually 2 years.
All right, okay.
Minimum, the balance has never been down in the past all this time.
I understand.
Less than 50.
Okay, all right.
So I'm showing my wife's working, earning around £16,000 a year, plus this saving in my account.
Yes.
I checked it online with that formula,
Yep, I understand.
So I fall in the category to apply. So I was just thinking of applying. So my mother-in-law's house, it is a house given by the council, and my wife's name is in it.
Yep. I can't see
I'm eligible to apply.
Yeah, 100%. I can't see any problems on that. So if we look at the financial requirement, your wife is working, earning £16,000 per year. So she will be submitting her 6 months wage slip, 6 months bank statement, and an employment letter. And then in terms of the shortfall of £2,600, you've got more than sufficient savings to cover that shortfall. I mean, with savings of about £50,000, you only need an income of, I think, about £5,000 or something. So there's absolutely
we have 2 kids.
Yep. The children are British, I take it, or not?
Yeah, they are British, yes.
Yeah, so the normal 18,600 requirement applies to you. But the way you've described it, I cannot see any problems at all. Just make sure that obviously in terms of your savings, the bank statements for 6 months have to be submitted. And there's a declaration that you need to submit as well, saying you've got the money.
But in the form, visa form, there is a section where it says your spouse having any this accommodation or something from the government.
It's not a problem. They do ask that question. You're absolutely right. But it's not a problem. I don't know why they ask that question, to be quite honest. But there's nothing in the rules which says that somebody who lives in council accommodation or housing association accommodation is not eligible to apply for a spouse visa. So I'm not quite sure why that question is asked. I've actually looked at that question. I've looked at the rules. There's no problem at all with that. So I wouldn't worry about that. There is no problem making an application based on the sponsor applicant living in a council property.
Great. And just one thing, which you said about the kids.
Yep.
When we have no kids, then it is 18,600. When you have one kid, then it is 22,400, I guess.
If the children are not British.
If they are not British.
If
even they are British.
No. If the children are British, the increased financial income requirement doesn't apply at all.
Oh, I missed that part.
No, at all. That's the starting point. So when the children are British, however many children you've got, 2, 3, 4, 5, it doesn't matter. It's only the 18,600 requirement that applies.
Oh, great. Thanks for giving me this information.
No problem. Hopefully based on what you've said.
Thing, so
yep, sure. Go on.
I am not British. My wife, my kids, they all are British.
That's fine. No problem.
So the savings are in my account, not my wife's account.
Not a problem.
And my wife is earning, so we both together are going to make one, like kind of package.
I understand.
So this to fall under the category of this visa.
Yep, I understand. There's no problem. There's no problem with that.
There's no problem.
You can look at your wife's income and then add your savings in there, because as far as the savings are concerned, the savings can be of the applicant, the sponsor, or combined. So there's no problem at all.
The thing is, my savings, I come to London many times a year, so I used to bring money with me over this period of time.
Okay.
And I just put it in my account, me and my wife together.
Okay. I can't see a problem with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Inshallah,
so
should be
okay.
okay.
Where are you based?
We're in Dewsbury, West Yorkshire.
West Yorkshire. Okay, I'll just take details from
so the control room, no problem at all. The control room should be able to give you my details. Thank you very much for your call. We'll take our next call. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. जी वालेकुम सलाम. Sorry, you had to hold on. जी.
मुझे आपसे क्वेश्चन करना है कि मुझे डिस्कशन लीव मिली थी 3 इयर्स की रिफ्यूज असाइलम के बेस पे.
जी, ओके.
वो मैंने एक्सटेंड की और फिर मुझे उन्होंने 3 इयर्स की डिस्कशन लीव दी.
जी.
अब वो नियरली नेक्स्ट मंथ फिनिश होने वाली है.
जी.
तो मैंने अप्लाई करना है 6 ईयर की बेस पे नेक्स्ट अपनी एप्लीकेशन डालनी है सेटलमेंट की, जिसे इंडेफिनिट लीव कहते हैं. मुझे ये समझ नहीं आ रही कि मैं कौन सा फॉर्म यूज करूंगी. मोस्टली पीपल कहते हैं कि सेटो, मोस्टली कहते हैं कि नहीं FLR-DL.
नहीं FLR-DL नहीं है. आपकी जो वीज़ा है ना वो 3 years and 3 years है ना, a total of 6 years ना. So in that situation आपको सेट O सबमिट कर सकते हैं. It's a 3 year discretionary leave. सेकंड टाइम भी उसने आपको 3 years discretionary leave दिया. So आप सेट O का फॉर्म यूज कर सकते हैं. सेट ओ का फॉर्म
लेकिन इसमें लिखा हुआ है कि नॉन असाइलम मतलब सेट ओ पे.
मुझको मगर आपको जो वीजा उसने दिया है ना, इट साउंड्स लाइक अ नॉन असाइलम वीजा एनीवे. वो इस डिस्क्रेशनरी लीव है, 3 years की डिस्क्रेशनरी लीव उसने आपको दिया है.
ओके.
3+3 उसने आपको जो वीज़ा दिया है ना 3 years + 3 years, वो सेटलमेंट के लिए जब अप्लाई करते हैं नॉर्मली दैट वीजा इज गिवन आपकी फैमिली बेसिस पे दिया है. इट्स नथिंग टू
आउट ऑफ टैक्स स्टेट की वजह से
इट्स नथिंग अदर सर्कमस्टेंसेस. इट्स नथिंग टू डू विद आपका असाइलम क्लेम के साथ. इट्स बिकॉज ऑफ योर लेंथ ऑफ रेजिडेंस इन द यूके. शायद आपके पास बच्चे थे यूके में.
जी माशाल्लाह मेरे 3 बच्चे हैं.
हाँ, तो वो बेसिस पे उसने दिया था. दैट्स व्हाई इट्स अ 3+3 वीज़ा. तो उसमें आप सेट ओ पे अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. मगर वैसे भी यू शुडंट वरी टू मच. लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल आपने सेट ओ का फॉर्म सबमिट किया एंड इट्स द रॉन्ग फॉर्म, तो तब भी दे गिव यू वन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू सबमिट द राइट फॉर्म anyway, so it's not fatal to the application. But having said that, आप set O form पे apply करो इसमें.
Apply करो और मैं premium service use कर सकती हूँ इस form पे?
कर सकते हैं. उसने शुरू किया है कि उस पर premium service भी use कर सकते हैं आप. Before I think couple of years ago इसमें premium service use नहीं करते थे, मगर अभी जो उसमें आप गवर्नमेंट की वेबसाइट पे जाएंगे तो इसमें प्रीमियम सर्विस के जो पेज पे जाएंगे तो they'll tell you who cannot apply. एक लिंक होगा कि who cannot apply. तो इसमें लिखा है कि as far as somebody applying for settlement after 6 years of discretionary leave, इसमें लिखा है कि they can apply. They can actually
apply. Yes, we can apply.
इसमें लिखा है, इसमें वहाँ लिखा है उसके वेबसाइट पर they can apply. So कर सकते हैं आप. I think the fees are roughly just under £3,000 अगर आप premium service use करेंगे, but you can make the application there definitely.
Okay, thank you, sir.
ठीक है, no problem at all. Ji, thank you very much for your call. Okay, so what we were looking at just before we received those calls was how the financial requirement for a spouse visa can be met, and we looked at in terms of the wage slips. We looked at the duration that the wage slips need to cover. We need to make sure that the wage slips are not out of date, in the sense that the last wage slip is not more than 28 days old. Now, the third point I was looking at just before the calls, which is something that we need to be careful about, is that the wage slips and the amount going into your bank account needs to match up. And when I say needs to match up, it needs to match to the penny. So if someone is receiving money on a monthly basis and the net pay, take for example December 2017, the net pay on the December 2017 wage slip is £1,200 and 20 pence. Then when you look at the corresponding payment that's gone into the bank account for December, it needs to be the exact amount. So if it's on the wage slip £1,200 and 20 pence, it's not good enough to have £1,200 going into the bank account. It has to have the 20 pence going into the bank account as well. Now, the Home Office never used to be this pedantic. It's only with the new rules that have been introduced and over the years we've seen how they apply the new rules that it's become apparent that this is a very common reason for refusing an application, to such an extent that if I give you an example where somebody receives wage slips on a weekly basis, so that person would be submitting 26 weeks wage slips. I have seen cases where out of the 26 wage slips, 25 of them are perfect, everything matches up. There is one wage slip, maybe the last wage slips, which is 20 pence off. And just based on that, the Home Office has rejected the application, saying that the money that you earn from your employment is not reflected in your bank account. So it's only 20 pence in one wage slip, which hasn't gone into the bank account for whatever reason, because the way the tax deductions work, sometimes the amount of money being deducted, there's a 20 pence difference or 10 pence difference or whatever it is, because there's a slight difference in terms of what's on the net pay and the amount that's gone into the bank account. That's been a reason for the Home Office refusing an application. So the third crucial point in relation to wage slips is that the wage slips need to match. Let's take our next call before we look at that in greater detail. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. My name is Adi. Yeah, last week I spoke to you concerning
you did
sign.
You did indeed.
Yeah.
Yep. You did. And I did, in fact, before coming to the office, I was looking at the guidance notes on Surinder Singh. Now, I think one of the things that you said was you'd seen somewhere where it said that I think in terms of applications which are made after 2016, December 2016, yes, the law has changed. And so before I think December or November 2016, the position was that the British citizen in the United Kingdom, when they come back to the UK after living in Ireland or France or wherever it is, when they come back, they don't need to work at all. So obviously, as you're aware, from December 2016, the rule is that they need to be working. Now, in my experience, Adi, what they do look at is not that they're just working at the present time. What they do look at is that they have been working for the duration of the time that they have lived in the United Kingdom, in terms of when they've returned back to the UK from having lived in Ireland or France, when they've returned back to the UK. In my experience, and I've seen a refusal on this, what it says is that they need to be working since they've come back to the United Kingdom. And from my recollection, did you say that your understanding was something slightly different to that? Is that?
Yeah, because the guidance note on free movement right,
yep.
family member of British citizen.
Yep, yep.
On page 28 of the guidance note.
Yep, yep.
It says a non-British citizen family member.
Yep, yep.
Have held a comprehensive sickness insurance during any period since, that means if they are relying on that residency after 25th of November 2016,
yep.
they should have a comprehensive sickness insurance.
Yep.
So, but my concern and my question is, because the guidance just came out October 2017.
17, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, what about now that I'm just saying it?
Yeah.
What will I do? Should I just go and buy a CSI for this time, or because I won't get a insurance that I've covered
the previous
one?
Right. What I would do is, if that's what the guidance note says, is get the insurance for now. Now, although this isn't covered in what you've just quoted, separately the Home Office has said that they won't place too much emphasis on the issue about comprehensive insurance. They've said that separately, that when it comes to permanent residence applications, they won't necessarily reject applications where there is no comprehensive insurance covering the whole period. So what I would do is get the comprehensive insurance for now, and then make the application. This concession that I'm referring to isn't in the guidance notes at the moment. I suspect that in the coming months the concession will be introduced. Because what the Home Office is saying is that what they want to do is to make the permanent residence application arrangements easy. That's what they want to do, because they envisage that as we approach Brexit and the transitional period after Brexit, many applications will be made for permanent residence. So they want to make it an easy, simple process. And one of the things that they've said is that they won't place too much emphasis on comprehensive insurance. Hopefully that answers your question. We'll take a break. We'll be back in the next few minutes.